I'm the National Sales Manager from Source Insurance, and the session we have today is basically around insights and a guide to success in home insurance. Typically, we at Source here will try and give you a good view of what's going on in the marketplace. And for this session specifically, we've tried to cover off some more, home insurance specific content that you should be able to use in conversations with your customers when considering how you, put home insurance and GI into your customer journey within your firm. So hopefully that will give you a bit of a view. As I said, we're recording the session today for the purpose of the other Julian Harris member firms. Thank you very much for everyone who's attending today, and we'll hold questions till the end. But hopefully today's session should be around 20-25 minutes, and we can cover off questions after that. So in terms of today's session and the agenda, I'm going to cover off a little bit of an overview of Source Insurance. Obviously, the current challenges, as I mentioned before, that are facing the market. There are a lot, and obviously it's not just home insurance you guys are facing challenges with. I'm sure there's lots of other things that you're facing challenges with too. But I'm also after that going to talk a little bit specifically around why premiums are rising. One of the most common things that we're hearing from advisors these days is that premiums for their customers are getting more expensive. If there's any homeowners on the call or anyone who's got home insurance on the call, I'm sure you guys will realise that even your own is going up every year. It's more and more expensive. I'll give a bit of an insight as to why those things are happening. Hopefully that will help you with the conversations with the customers when they ask those questions. Obviously, there's a lot of change in the regulatory marketplace as well, or the regulatory stance, I should say, in terms of how the FCA are viewing things. Things like consumer duty and fair value have been brought in over the last few years. And obviously they have a knock-on effect in terms of home insurance and the way that home insurance is handled in our market. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. I can just get one moment. I'll let in that person who's just arrived. Next, what I'll talk a little bit about is basically some home insurance objections and responses. That basically is some typical bits and bobs that you might find in terms of objections. I'll talk a little bit about 5 quick wins to help you improve GI conversion as well. Now, again, you might not necessarily come across all those objections or think that those quick wins might work for you, but if you can employ 1 or 2 of them and maybe use some of the objection handling, it might be useful in your business. It might also be worth noting that today's session isn't just targeted at who's here today. It's a bit of a taste of what Source can offer to your business as well. So if you're part of a firm and there's other business people that work within your business, whether they be administrators, power planners, or other advisors, whether they be IFA or mortgage advisors, this is just a taste to some of the educational content, the market leading content that we create and we can provide, whether it be via webinar, telephone, or face-to-face. So hopefully just gives you a bit of a taster. Towards the end, I will very much quickly touch on the Source home insurance platform that we introduced this year, which is brand new. I'll talk a little bit about some of the features and benefits there. I'll also talk about Source Go, which is our market-leading insurance referral program. Now, basically, you've all been used to referral programs and the way that they work, referral platforms, I should say. What I would say about Source Go is it's very different, and I'll give you the main sort of key points behind that. Finally, I'll touch on Learning Lab, but we'll talk a lot about sort of general education bits and bobs today. So hopefully when we get to that point, it will just be a bit of a signpost of where you can get access to more of the same information. So introduction to Source. You can see a graphic on your screen now that denotes some of the key milestones around Source. We've been around a long time. Obviously, we provide household and buy-to-let cover. We provide a platform that advisors can use to compare the leading insurance products on the home insurance industry in the market. If you haven't got access already, it's nice and easy. You can sign up online or by giving us a call. And obviously after today, I'll be sharing some more information about how you can get access to the system. But since our inception in 1993, really what we've tried to do is lead in terms of technology, in terms of products, and in terms of making it as easy as possible for advisors to be able to write as much home insurance and cover as many clients as they might need to. So that's what we strive to do. That's what we're continually striving to do. In recent years, we've launched our brand new advisor platform and our new referral model, and I'll talk a little bit more about those later today. But one of the key things that I like to mention is last year, we launched both a customer insight forum and an advisor insight forum, where basically we interact with our advisors and their customers to ensure that we're building solutions, technology, launching products that are fit for purpose, not only for now, but for years to come. So when it comes to customers, we're always trying to improve things like their documentation and making sure they understand the documents are nice and easy. Our customer platform is simple to use when they want to make maybe midterm adjustments to their policies. On the Advisor Insight Forum side, we work with advisors that already write business with us and some that don't. So we can understand why the people that work with us stay with us, and why those that aren't working with us, what they would need to be able to come over as well. So with us, we're always striving to launch the best technology, the best, most fitting products, the cheapest prices, all built around what our customers and our advisors ask for, and that really is the sort of mission statement, if you like. So as I said to begin with, a lot of the content today is going to be focused on some of the things that advisors are facing and some of the ways that we can help you sort of get around those obstacles. To preface that, I think it's worthwhile talking about some of the contributing factors to the challenges that advisors are facing. Now, the first one on there is that premiums increasing element. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next page. In reality, the other points on this slide, insurers leaving the market, consumer duty, cost of living, they all contribute to that premium increasing element. And obviously it adds to the challenges that you face, whether it be with your mortgage customers, your protection customers, investment or pension customers. It's all things that affect everywhere. In terms of consumer duty, we've seen the regulator sort of increase scrutiny in different areas, try to make sure that advisors are thinking about that customer outcome more. Now, obviously, that's a good thing, but most advisors have their customer outcome in mind anyway. So it's adding more complexity and compliance to the process, which makes things more difficult. And therefore, things like home insurance, which aren't necessarily a primary product, do tend to fall off. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. Time restraints come from that. The less time you have, the less time you have to have, less time you've got to speak to customers about those ancillary products. Online comparison websites, again, that's something that's coming up more and more regularly. Whereas 10 or 15 years ago, less customers maybe would have engaged with a comparison site, whereas nowadays it's quite common for customers to engage with a comparison website more regularly. A couple of the other points I'm going to hit on a little bit later in the presentation, but that hopefully gives you a bit of a feel for the reasons that most advisors are raising with us around why they're not able to write as much home insurance as they might like. So the most important one, or maybe not the most important, but the most frequently raised barrier that we hear these days is around why premiums are going up so quickly. Now, I've touched on a couple of the points here. And I'm sure you guys don't need me telling you around, insurance premium tax and obviously the cost of living and those sorts of things, which all have an effect on premiums. But some of the things here that I've noted are some of the reasons you might be able to bring up with your customers, if you're comfortable with it, talking around why premiums are increasing and specifically to home insurance. The one on the far left there, insurance leaving the home insurance market. Now, if you've been in the home insurance market long enough, you'll know that some of the big names that you would have expected to have at your fingertips, the likes of Aviva, RSA, have left the market in recent years. Now, obviously, that has a knock-on effect. The other insurers that are still in the market and still trying to compete with the remainder, it makes it more difficult for them to be able to cover all the risks. And obviously, then prices increase as a result. Now, again, it's not something that we're in control of here at Source. We try and offer the best insurers on our panel, but all of our competitors are facing the same problem. So it's one of those things to keep in mind. There are less insurers in the market than there were 5-10 years ago, so it makes it more difficult for those that remain. The middle one there, more properties, believe it or not, are now being classed as non-standard. Now, maybe I should alter it a little bit. It's not just properties, it's customers, people that might have had claims in the last few years. But what we're seeing is more and more intermediaries and advice businesses are finding that less and less properties are just classed as standard by the remaining insurers in the market. So we've seen some, for example, in Q1 get 12% of their policies sold as non-standard, going all the way up to 20% from Q1 to Q2. So that's a huge increase. Now, I don't think it will continue at that rate, but what we're seeing is because those properties are now more customers and more properties are classed as sort of slightly off-piste, maybe not as standard, not as vanilla as others, it's more difficult to get them, cover because a lot of these insurers have left the market. And as I say, there's other things as well coming into account. So if you've got a customer that all of a sudden their premium has gone up a lot compared to last year, it might be because one of those insurers has left and the remaining insurers don't have the footprint to cover it in the same way that the one previously did. The final one to mention, and it might be a bit of a cliche, but honestly, adverse weather, flooding, it's increased rapidly over the recent years, and that just adds to everything for the insurers. It means that more things become more difficult, and prices go up as a result. Now, again, I'm not expecting everybody who has a conversation about home insurance to dig into the detail here, but what we're hoping is, and what we've heard in terms of feedback, is advisors want a bit of information behind those premiums and why they're increasing. So hopefully that gives you a bit of at least a conversation point if customers are asking you why their premiums are going up. Next, I wanted to cover a little bit around the FCA. Now, I won't linger too much on this. I'm not sure anyone's got the brain capacity to talk about the FCA stance on GI for too long, but I wanted to give some detail on it because there are some key themes that I think are worthwhile mentioning. There's three on here. What I'm going to do on this slide is sort of discuss what we believe is our interpretation of the FCA stance on things. Have to stress it's an interpretation. What we've got here isn't steadfast. Obviously, interpretation is key, but it's something that we like to give it a bit of an opinion on. And then after that, I'll give you basically what we think might happen next in terms of these over the next couple of years. So in terms of commission, I'll read out our profile here. The FCA states that the services offered must be proportionate to the commission received by the advisor. The FCA is not against commission in the GI market, although they have recently published some criticism of percentage-based commission. Now, again, what they're trying to say is they're trying to have a closer look at things to make sure things are commission is proportionate in terms of the outcome of the client and those sorts of things. We believe this is going to be a slow and steady change, if any. And obviously, we still offer percentage-based commission. All of our competitors do. There's no inclination that that's going to change. I think it's just worthwhile noting that the FCA are starting to look at it a little bit in terms of, those sorts of things. Fair value. Now, obviously, this is a little bit older in terms of the implementation compared to Consumer Duty, but the FCA defines fair value as the price a customer pays for a product or service being reasonable in comparison to the benefits they receive. Within GI, the regulator is scrutinising the input advisors have in some elements of the sales process, such as renewal. So it's, again, this is from our compliance department trying to make sure that we're giving you a view of what's coming out from the FCA. Now, there's no inclination that there's going to be an immediate change, but these are the ways that things are being looked at by the regulator at the moment. Consumer Duty is sort of the same across the board, isn't it? Regardless of what product. If there's a financial need for home insurance, then the regulator expects there either to be advice provided or the customer to be referred to an expert. If you're telling people that you're going to give advice or at least, signpost in regards to home insurance, but you're not doing it, why not consider a referral model, I guess is what we're saying. So what does it mean for advisors? And again, have to stress, this is just our stance. We don't believe, it's not steadfast. It's not by any means concrete. It's just our view and our stance on things. But in terms of commission, I should say, there's currently no changes that have been made. But down the line, the regulator may look to implement stricter rules around commission. Now, again, may look to make some changes. At the moment, they haven't. And obviously, this is something that they've been looking at for a long time. Adopting the same commission approach for all customers is a great way to keep things uniform. What I mean by that is, most providers, including ourselves, give you the option to flex your commission if you want to make things more competitive. Now, that's up to you, but if you're going to do it for one, it would make sense to do it for everybody rather than having one commission approach for one customer and then a different one for another. Now, again, that's entirely up to you and obviously up to the Julian Harris Compliance Department about their guidance for you, but it's just something that we thought we'd bring up to make sure that people are aware. In terms of fair value, the regulator is pushing for more engagement between the advisor and customer. Think about things like renewals. At the moment, if you write a policy with a source or one of our competitors, in the next year, we handle the renewal for you, but you still get paid the same commission. Now, I think what the regulator would like to see is more engagement. Now, why not use that as an opportunity to have a conversation with your customer and, understand more about their general proposition, their general situation, whether it be a change in their housing or a change in their family. Maybe they've had children. Again, I appreciate you don't want to sit down with a client every year and have a detailed conversation about home insurance, but why not use it as that opportunity to review and have conversations about other products? It's a perfectly normal reason to do it. People's situation changes all the time. And, in line with Consumer Duty and fair value, I think that's a fair enough assessment to make. Finally, in terms of Consumer Duty, we provide options for all requirements among advice firms. If you're trying to work out how to write more home insurance and meet more customers' needs, if you need to get started with it and need education, or if you want to start referring because you don't think selling home insurance is right for your business now, we've got the options for all of those. I'll touch on those in a moment, but the bottom line is whatever sort of position you are in your home insurance journey, we can help you. So it's worthwhile considering your options if you're at that juncture where you're not quite sure what to do next. So, as I said, I sort of wanted to touch on a couple of typical objections that people have and, that we hear advisors facing all the time. By no means is this the only way you can handle these, and I'm sure there's lots and lots of other objections. As I've said, a lot of the content today is just really a bit of a taster compared to, a lot of what we have in our learning lab, which is a free resource that you can get access to on our website. But a couple here just to pull out. For example, price too high. We've talked about price, and hopefully some of the context that I've given you earlier today will give you a bit of more conversation fodder to be able to have with those customers when they ask about price. But one of the key things to remember when you hear your customer maybe is going to a comparison website, and why is the price so different to the price you've given them? You're providing advice that costs a premium. It's going to be more expensive than what they can get online. There's always other reasons. Comparison websites are cheaper. Don't need to go into those, but it's worthwhile saying, look, you're paying me for expert advice. I'm a trained professional. That's why it's a little bit more expensive if you come to me. Again, I'm aware that that's not always going to work, and it's difficult to compare with those comparison website prices. But it's one of those things that it might be a bit of a useful tack if you get a chance to use it. I can do it myself. Obviously clients can purchase online, but without advice, there is a higher likelihood that the policy might not fit them. Things like accidental damage, home emergency cover, trace and access that customers might not know about and miss when they go onto comparison websites, when you're going to provide the advice to make sure they take those things out. I don't need it. Obviously, we know that it's a illegal requirement for buildings cover for the majority of lenders. So hopefully that one's a bit of a nonsense, but it's one of those things you do get occasionally, isn't it? And I don't have time. It's difficult. Different advisors work with us, employ the conversation about home insurance at different periods of that mortgage journey. Some like to do it right at the beginning and have fantastic success, but we see some businesses convert really well by having that conversation at the end of the process. Up to you how you do it. What I would suggest is make sure you stick with one process, and the don't have time one should be a bit of a nonsense. Really, you want to make sure that it's in place before that exchange of contracts, before the client moves into their home. You should be able to use that as a bit of a lever to pull when you're having those conversations with customers. This is the tip of the iceberg with objections. Clearly, there's all sorts of objections you might face with different customer types and different types of products you might be selling. What we can do is face-to-face or bespoke content for you and your customers, you and your advisors, if you'd like to have something a bit more detailed around objections, and just come to me afterwards and we can arrange that. I'd like to finish on, before I talk about the proposition a little bit, with some easy wins that you can use to improve GI conversion. As I said at the start of the session, this isn't just like, employ them all and you're going to have 100% increase in how much you do. But what I find is if you can try and take one of these away and maybe implement it within your business, you'll find it will have an effect. Let's go from the top left down. So in terms of implementing, managing and measuring your process, consistently across every sale provides opportunity to measure what works and what doesn't. What we mean by that is if you have the same process across every customer, you can track what's working and what isn't. What I'm trying to say is if you're having a mortgage conversation and in one client you're having a chat about GI to begin start the process, and the next client you do it sort of midway through the journey, and then the one after that you do it later on down the journey, it's quite difficult to track what's working and what isn't. If you can do a consistent approach across all, you'll find an easier way to make sure that you're tracking it. Utilize educational content and bespoke provider sessions. I'll talk to you a little bit later about Learning Lab. Why not use it? It's free. We provide it. There's all sorts of content there. It's not just, look, this is how you use our platform. It might be around the basics of household insurance, or how to have the conversation with the client. Loads and loads of stuff out there. Why not use it? It's all free of charge. You can even brand some of it for customer facing if you'd like to. Allocate dedicated GI person within your firm. Obviously, this isn't easy if you're a one man or one woman band, as it were, because you're the one person and you're the only person who can do it. But for those businesses that do have other people that are helping out, why not dedicate that person to be the GI person? Some of the businesses in the last 12 months that we've seen go from here to here in terms of conversion are the ones that just say, look, you're going to be the person that has that GI conversation. Might sound simple, but if you have one person that you can rely on that does it every client and make sure that it happens every time, honestly, you'll see a huge change in conversion just having that consistency. Referral options, goes without saying. If you're not having time to be able to do it yourself, I'll talk to you a little bit more about Source Go today, because honestly, there's no better time to start referring business, considering how low the premiums are with our referral model. And finally, my favorite one here, that sort of one on the right hand side that sneaks over farthest to the right hand side. Quote every client every time. Might sound silly. Most of the advisors that we speak to, whether it be at events, at round table events, on the telephone, inbound and outbound, they're not quoting every client. Now, I know you might have remortgage clients, you might have other clients in there that you wouldn't have a conversation with, but for every opportunity that you do have, why not quote every client and send them something out and have a conversation? Honestly, you'll just see a massive increase if you can do that consistently. So before I sort of sign off, I'm just going to touch on a few new things. So obviously in January this year, we launched a brand new platform, The Source. It's the name of the Source Insurance Advisor platform. Loads of new features on there. Again, this isn't a demonstration. We're not going to give you a sort of show and tell today. It's just a bit of an overview, but there's all sorts of new things in there. The ability to share the the quote and the fact find with the customer if you'd like. Some advisors like to do all the customer fact find themselves. Some advisors have raised with us that it's quite difficult to understand how to have the time to go through all those household questions with the customer. With the new platform, you can put in basic information and send them an email. The customer can completely rest of the information and send it back to you. Still full advice, you still get paid the same. Customer can't do anything without your say so, but it allows them to complete the information about their contents and the locks in their home and all those sorts of things. There's also customization options. There's a premium predictor now. We had a lot of advisors tell us that, they needed a quick way to get a really accurate quote. And on our platform now, using AI, you can literally put in a customer's postcode and a couple of other bits of information. It takes you 15-20 seconds, and it will give you a nice accurate quote so you can get an idea how much it's going to cost. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about referrals. Again, we are under no illusion. There's an awful lot of advisors in the UK that aren't getting around to having the home insurance conversation. We talked about objections. We talked about some of the reasons that are getting in the way. If your business is in a position where you don't have the time to start learning about home insurance and having those conversations, and you don't have the help in your business to start doing the GI every time, why not consider referral now? Consumer duty, why not start earning income to give your client the right outcome, I suppose is an easy way of putting it. Now, SourceGo is an entirely online journey. No telephone calls to the customer. You don't have to send us any emails. If you've got a customer you want to refer, you just go to our website, fill in that basic form that you can see on the screen now. That generates an email that goes to the client. When they open the email, it tells them that we're working with you as their advisor. They get a quote for their home insurance. They can click on a link, complete the rest of the information about their property, and on average, the premiums that those customers see are £100 cheaper per year than an advisor premium. Now, obviously, you get paid a little bit less because we've made it a lot cheaper. The way that we make it cheap and the premiums are so cheap is by making it, we pay you less commission. We don't pay you a renewal commission. It's literally a £50 referral fee. So it's, if you're not doing home insurance now and you're not earning any income out of it, why not start giving your clients a really low premium, a high quality product, and start earning £50 for the referral? It's going to take you a minute to introduce it. Your customer's going to get a high quality product, low price, so they're not going to be able to go and compare it elsewhere and get a cheaper price. And you're doing the right thing in terms of consumer duty and fair value. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about referrals. Again, all of this information, you can always come back to us afterwards and we can give you more info and show you how it works on a demo. Finally, I think hopefully today we've demonstrated that we can give you some added content and information and education in terms of learning about the home insurance sort of industry and whether it be the market, whether it be regulation, whether it be about objection handling. We've created a dedicated learning lab on our platform. All you need to do is go to thesource.co.uk, click on the Learning Lab tab, and basically you'll see the screen that you're seeing now. There's webinar training modules, there's articles, there's helpful videos, there's even micro courses that give you CPD and all those sorts of things. They're not hour-long videos and hour-long training courses. They're 15 and 20-minute courses that take no time at all to get done. It might not be for you, but if you've got someone else within your business that you think it might be worthwhile them learning about GI, just think about it. Could be an administrator, could be a power planner, as I've said, could just be another advisor within your firm that you want to allocate that GI piece to. Obviously, we can do bespoke training as well. If you feel your advisors have a more bespoke need and it needs to be face-to-face, for example, obviously we can do it. But honestly, can't stress enough, that learning lab is a goldmine of information. There's even marketing materials and things that you can brand yourself that you can use with customers to start those conversations. Hopefully that's given everybody a bit of an idea about what it is we offer. I'm going to open up the floor now to questions if anyone has one. I can't see any in the chat, but if anyone would like to ask any questions, feel free to open up now. Obviously, if not, thank you very much for everyone's time. If anyone wants to hop off now, that is the end of the session today. I'll be sharing all the information I can around how to get in contact with us, as well as the slide deck and all those sorts of things. So thank you very much for your time today, and yeah, we'll share the video recording shortly. Okay, so that's the recording.